Of all, just on reflection of the Perth game, just before we look ahead, has anything sort of become apparent in the days since that has encouraged you, or has that dominated your thinking ahead of the Brisbane clash?
No, I think the game went to plan. I think we anticipated that we're going to play like that. It's probably not to the level of directness or the intent of directness every time. I think that the big thing for us was having Hughesy step out late and putting Lucas in, who hasn't been part of the group now for a couple of weeks because he was on international duty. I think it was not, I wouldn't say unfair on him, but it just made it a lot harder for him to transition into, that first half an hour. But then in the second half, he actually was very, very good. And I felt as though, he gained more confidence, especially after the second goal and so on. So they're just teething issues in terms of the offside trap. I was really happy with the fact that we stuck to the game plan once we conceded the second goal, and there were two well-worked team goals, which is very good, and very happy with the group showing some mental fortitude, and it just feels like a group again, which is the most important thing.
The high line. A lot of chat about the high line. Can you
high line hijinks? I heard.
The high line hijinks.
Yeah,
Can you just give us the tactical rationale for playing that way?
Yeah, I can give a really simple explanation. I've always wanted to be a possession-based dominant team. With that, you need to have profile of players that suit that sort of style. I was trying to integrate that last year, but for a host of reasons, it didn't eventuate having a good pre-season to bring everything into effect. So we're kind of on the back foot last year, and things unravelled, and we didn't have a basis. So I said this year I was going to do it. I was pretty determined on doing it. Had it in my mind probably about halfway through last season. I've watched a lot of teams, especially Barcelona, one of my favourite teams. And if you look at Barcelona's average starting team, it's I think it was under 24 last year, which is the youngest team in La Liga history. But they executed quite well with two 18-year-old centre-backs. So I thought, well, if they can do it, I think we can do it as well. It gives you the ability to remain camped in the opposition half. It also means that the opposition have to make a choice whether they want to attack that space, which means they have to be more direct, which means that they have less time on the ball, which gives us more time on the ball, which means that we'll have more opportunities. That's basically the premise. So we started playing this, I think, maybe 6 weeks ago with effect. We did a lot of principle-based work on it. The players were, I think, a little bit hesitant at first, and then when we played our first game, they actually enjoyed it. And I think it's something that they're embracing. And again, I think the most important thing is that we're going to look vulnerable for a lot of games because of the line. But that's done with intention, and obviously the payoff is having more of the ball.
What role does your goalkeeper play in the system? Does he need to be further out, a sweeper keeper? Yeah,
essentially he needs to be the protection for the back line when they go to halfway. It's something that a lot of goalkeepers don't do right now. There's not a lot of teams that play a ultra high line. There's a lot of teams that actually step up on the negatives quite well, and the goalkeepers just adjust the line. But at halfway, it's a little bit different. You need a brave goalkeeper, and with anything, there's always issues at the start. But once the goalkeepers get more comfortable with it, they grow into it. And you saw that with Joshy, in the first half. There might have been one or two that I think probably on reflection he probably shouldn't have come out for, but the fact that he did, he was 100%. And then in the second half, it was a lot more easier for him. So I'm hoping in the next game he's more comfortable. And I mean, he's come a long way since our first game where, there's always that uncertainty, but every game is building. So I'm very happy.
And just one final one on this. So how do you stop teams just saying, right, well, there's all that space in behind, we'll just kick it in there and have a couple of fast guys coming through? What's the defence to that tactic?
Real basic understanding is you need pressure on the ball. And the pressure on the ball dictates where the ball goes. So if you have no pressure on the ball, you're actually most vulnerable. And if you look at the two goals we conceded, we probably didn't get enough of a reaction on the ball initially. And the flow-on effect is once our defenders have to step out and defend that transition moment, it becomes troublesome. But in saying that, we corrected in the second half quite well. and I felt as though, it's a feeling as well. Certain players have certain different cues or understanding of how to play the direct ball, and I felt as though Kazu, Roofs, Finn Conchi, even Eze for a large part, understood where the direct danger was in the second half and shut down the space very quickly.
So how pleased were you with the way you dominated the game from about the 31-minute mark on?
I would say it was earlier than that. I think we dominated from the start. What we weren't able to do was actually getting behind Perth, and I think we were starting to play a lot longer passes than what we anticipated, and actually they had 4 transitions from longer pass interceptions, which is something that we identified that is really not acceptable in our system. And if you're going to play those passes, you have to be 100% sure that they stick. And I think, the boys, it's a different mindset, right? When you have the ball for so long now, it's actually the patience which is the most important virtue, because if you look at most possession-based teams, they can take 2 minutes, 3 minutes before they actually crack a defence. So I felt in that game we had so much of the ball in the first part that we were a little bit getting a little bit frustrated the fact that we weren't getting in behind, and that's the trick, is not to get in that phase and capitalise and be patient. But again, the second goal actually gave us that ability to be patient, because it was like, all right, well, what we're doing right now is not working. So, and there was a good clip at 30 minutes for us where we broke on the right side. We had an interchange of about 15 passes. And I think once we did that and we opened them up, I think Payne had that shot with a potential cutback. I think then the game changed for us.
Team news, Isaac Hughes, Nicola Malelsnich, Albert Kelly-Heald?
Albie's back, but we've found that we want to give him some game time in the academy games in order to build conditioning into his shoulder, just to build his confidence. So Amon will be on the bench for us for the next couple of games. Sorry, who was the other one? Nicola. Nicola's still ongoing at the moment, so his rehab is doing really well. So we're hoping a couple of weeks, potentially he'll be back in action. And the first one? Hughesy, yes. Hughesy's infection is a lot better today. So I'm kind of hoping that he'll be ready for Sunday.
All right. And Brisbane, I think, have certainly shown they're quite a physical side, unashamedly so by the looks of it. Are you doing anything in particular to prepare for what could be a pretty robust battle on Sunday?
Look, the main thing for us is, if that is the focal point of their game, is that we don't get tangled in their game. Again, I've looked at their pre-season games. They've had some really good games. I thought they were pretty good against Sydney. I thought they were decent against Central Coast as well. And you just know after that first game against Macarthur, they're just going to be very sleeves up sort of hard-working team. So we have to be patient. If they come and kick us, hopefully the referee protects us. But we're not going to play that game. So we're just going to play our game. And the most important thing is that we keep our heads.
And last one from me, nature of the A-League players and coaching staff move around. Ruben Parker is with Brisbane Roar now, having worked really closely with Josh Oluwaemi last season. Is there any sense that he might know a bit that might help Brisbane Roar in that regard?
He would know Joshy personally, but we're a completely different team to last year, so he would know Joshy well, but they have to get there in the 18-yard box first. So, we'll just see how it pans out.
A few questions for Phil Rollo at Stuff. How was training in this weather, and did you have to modify anything due to the conditions?
Yeah, so I went and bought like a couple $1 million worth in windmill stocks after today. It was like, I've never experienced anything like that, but it was actually really good training. Surprisingly, I was very happy with the attitude, and it was a good finish to the session. So the boys are in good spirits.
How determined is the team to improve its home record and make Sky Stadium a fortress again?
I think that goes without saying. I think the boys have got a lot to prove this season, but it is for a large part a new team. Last year's last year, 2 years ago was 2 years ago. We're going to build new memories, and I think if anything to go by the last game and the pre-season friendlies, it's going to be something worth to watch.
And a few questions from Luke Robinson at TVNZ as well. Apart from obviously the point, what did you take away from the season opener?
I think the A-League is going to be very close this season. I think Perth have a lot of good players, and they were very hard to break down in the initial part. I think there's not going to be any easy games. You saw Central Coast beat Newcastle. No one expected that. I don't think there's going to be any easy points this year. Brisbane beating Macarthur, City drawing with Wanderers. That was a hard game. Obviously victory in Auckland. I feel as though this league this year, it's going to really come down to the wire. I think there won't be any clear sort of, favourites, for the initial part anyway, which is, make the league interesting. But you've got to be on it every week.
Is there some aspect of momentum you can take into this weekend, given how the team finished in Perth?
I think it's not only the game in Perth. I think we've shown over the last 5 or 6 games that the only game I think we lost post Heidelberg was Sydney in the last second, and even then I think we merited something. So the boys have a lot of faith, a lot of belief. There's a good cohesion within the group. There's a nice collective feel in terms of mateship and so on. So as long as we stick together through the ups and downs, we'll have a good season.
What went wrong in that first 25 minutes? Was it execution, preparation, or just being undone a couple of times?
I think with a new system, there's always going to be teething issues. I think adjustments and getting used to the fact that playing a high line and reviewing how opposition play. It's not like a normal sort of process because no one else plays a high line. So you're kind of going into the game. You kind of think you know what they're going to do. So until it actually happens, you're not really sure. So that's where we need to mature and not be naive. And again, we have certain principles that we kind of stuck to in that first 20 when things got a little bit chaotic. We kind of lost our heads for a little bit. But again, I think I look at, the response, and I was so happy with the response. The fact that they stuck in. It goes to the playing group. I thought, and there was top leadership on the group, with Riffs and Kazu. I thought they were leading the game. I saw some moments where Carlo was, even we were 2-0 down, he's, reinforcing, the group to, that we're in the game, and that for me is a massive positive.
You touched on it a bit before, but how important is it to make a good start at home, given that record in Wellington?
I think it's important, but we had a good. Since I've been head coach, we've had the 2 best starts Phoenix have ever had. It doesn't really mean that much. I think what matters is where we are in the middle part of the season towards the end. Where we're going to try to build as much momentum as we can, but we want to make home. A very hard place for teams to take points. So, again, if we can win a majority of our games, put us in good stead for the 6, and if we can win all our games, they'll put us in a good stead for the top 4.
And finally, from Luke, was there a reason for that record at home last season, and have you addressed it with the team?
Because the other teams beat us, and I've already addressed it a million times. And last year's last year. I won't entertain any more questions on it because I think that's done. I think last year was a completely different team. This is a new team, and I think they should be respected for that.